Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with Miso Honey Chicken. That's right, for decades, chefs have avoided putting these two ingredients together because of a certain notorious and highly controversial rap song from the late 80s. But because they combine to make such an incredible marinade, and enough time has gone by that lots of our younger viewers have no idea what I'm talking about, I've decided to put miso and honey together and feature them in this easy and incredibly delicious grilled chicken recipe. So with that, let's go ahead and get started by adding a big old spoon of white miso to this mixing bowl. And if you're not familiar, miso is basically a fermented paste made from rice, barley, soybeans, among other things. And if you're wondering why something called white miso is gold, I will be explaining that on the blog post. Not very well, but I'll give you something. And then to that we'll add the co-star of this marinade, which will be some honey. And as usual, we always want to use local honey, although I can never remember why. I think it has something to do with allergies. And then we'll go ahead and finish this mixture off with a splash of rice vinegar, as well as whatever you think is the right amount of hot sauce. And this time I'm using sriracha, but literally any hot pepper or hot sauce would work. And then after the hot sauce, we'll finish up with a spoon of salt. And that's it. We'll take a whisk and give this a mix. And fair warning, because it's kind of grainy, miso is not the easiest thing to whisk in, which is why some people would heat this and or do it in a blender. But I'm going to skip those extra steps because for a marinade, this does not have to be perfectly smooth. All right, what you see here is just fine. And then to that, we'll add whatever pieces of chicken we're going to grill, which for me are these two half chickens. And one thing I'm going to do before I start tossing these in the marinade is do that trick where we take a knife and make like 3 or 4 slashes into the leg and thigh so that cooks a little faster and our breast meat does not get overcooked while we're waiting for that to cook through. Plus, once it's cooked, I think those slashes make this look a little cooler visually, but I can't prove that. But anyway, let's continue on with the second part of the old slash and slosh as we toss that chicken in the marinade until it's thoroughly coated. And we've gotten that mixture into every nook and cranny. Oh, and one other small tip, I like to remove those wing flats and cook those separately. I think it makes the chicken easier to work with. Plus, provides the chef with a tasty snack about halfway through. And then once that's set, all we have to do is decide how long we're going to let this marinate. My official recommendation is overnight. But in the spirit of full disclosure, I only pop mine in the fridge for a couple hours, which I'm going to say is the bare minimum. All right, longer's better. But regardless of how long you go, once you pull that out of the fridge, what we want to do is flip it over and not wipe or brush off any of the marinade. All right, just leave it on there, since we're going to basically grill this as is. Although I do like to give the skin a generous sprinkling of kosher salt before we hit the grill. And if you want to, and I really think you do, I'd reserve any of that excess marinade, and that way we can baste our chicken with that as it grills. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and generously salt this surface, at which point we'll grab our tongs and head outside, where we're going to cook this covered over indirect heat. And that foil thing you see is just a wrapped ceramic heat diffuser, which come with these type of grills. But if you're just using a regular grill, you can accomplish the same thing by having your coals on one side, and then your chicken on the other. And that's another thing we'll go over in the blog post. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start mine skin side up. And I'll go ahead and cover that and let it go for about 20 minutes, maintaining a temperature of about 350, give or take. And then all we're going to do after 20 minutes is give those a flip. And sure, it does look a little disturbing at this point, but don't worry, it gets much better. And while I think the smokiness of grilling absolutely works perfectly with this marinade, it will also totally work with other cooking methods. Okay, if you wanted to brush that chicken with a little bit of butter and pan roast it a la French bistro, that would also be fantastic. But of course, if you did use a French approach, you'd have to call it poulet à miso honey. But it would work, as would broiling. But anyway, like I said, we'll give that side a flip and give it another 20 minutes, at which point we'll take a look. And I can show you exactly why indirect heat is so important. All right, because of the honey in the marinade, if your heat is too direct, it's going to turn black like this wing, which apparently was too close to the edge. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to eat that. But before I do, I'll go ahead and flip these over one last time. And since it looks like that back position is getting a little more heat, I'm going to go ahead and rotate my halves. And then what we'll do before we cover this is give it a nice brushing with any reserved marinade, which at this stage you can do as many times as you want. And we will cover that back up and continue cooking until it's done, which for me is when the inside of the thigh is about 160 to 165. And normally at this point you get a final close-up shot of me pulling this stuff off the grill, but that is not what's going to happen, since it started to rain, which it never does in San Francisco. So I was totally caught off guard and the chicken needed to come off immediately. So I moved my camera inside, and I went with a long-distance shot of me taking it off the grill. And by the way, if you've never seen me on camera before, you're probably thinking two things. Chef John is bald, and also, probably, Chef John got that wagon. But anyway, I just wanted to explain why you're seeing me on camera, and also show why I'm usually not. So I pulled that chicken off and headed back in, where I was extremely happy with the results. Sure, I had a little bit of uneven charring, but I didn't care because it smelled amazing, and I knew it was going to taste amazing, which it did, garnished with some lemon wedges that I sprinkled with some hot pepper flakes. Although if you like lime, I think that would be just as good, if not better. Both would work, so that will be up to you. I mean, you are, after all, the 2 Live crew of your cock-a-doodle-doo. So I went ahead and squeezed a little spicy citrus over that meat and went in for the official taste. And for a marinade that only has a couple ingredients, that I only let the chicken soak in for a couple hours, this was incredibly flavorful and delicious. And if you've never worked with miso before, it really does provide a lot of umami flavor, which is just a fancy foodie word for extreme savoriness. So while this is an extremely simple marinade, the flavors it produces are anything but. And above and beyond the great taste it provided, it also kept this chicken very moist and tender, although a lot of that is just not overcooking it. But whether we're talking the juicy middle of the thigh or the driest tip of the breast, I find this marinade very, very effective. In fact, I was enjoying this so much I didn't even bother with side dishes. I basically just stood there and ate a half chicken all by itself, and I had zero regrets. But anyway, that's it. What we're calling miso honey chicken. No matter which chicken parts you use this on, or how you cook them, or how nice the weather is, if you get this marinade into your recipe rotation, I think it's something you're going to love long time. So I really do hope you give this a try soon. Head over to foodwishes.com for all the ingredient amounts and more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.